What is going on, Diablo fans? Dobrunsky here, and today, this video, I'm going to recap all of the key takeaway points and highlights from the Diablo 4 games and features discussion panel at BlizzCon. So there's a lot of stuff to go through, kind of more in-depth discussion on the characters, skill and talent trees, the private campaign / open world concept, dungeons, endgame dungeons, monsters and their affixes, as well as the itemization system that is planned for Diablo 4. So there really is a lot of content to cover. I'm going to do my best to try and wrap up this video in about 5 minutes because it was a 45-minute discussion panel, just key highlights only. Diving into the characters, there is again 3 confirmed: Sorceress, Barbarian, and the Druid. The Sorceress will have 3 main skill trees: Fire, Lightning, and Cold. They did mention an invulnerability spell, which is kind of cool. Your character is invisible during the duration of that spell. And they did emphasize a chill and freeze system where you can apply chill to slow down a monster and progressively applying more and more chill till eventually you freeze that monster solid in one place, which was kind of interesting. Similar to like Ice Blast in Diablo 2. The Barbarian, again, is melee focused. It can actually equip up to 4 weapons at the same time, 2 two-handed weapons, and 2 one-handed weapons. It can also equip more legendary items than any other character in Diablo 4. More on legendaries when I discuss the itemization system. The Druid, they did talk a lot again about seamless transitioning, shapeshifting between human, werewolf, and bear form, and they did mention some affixes that are tied to shapeshifting form, like damage reduction with the werewolf form. But yeah, they did really emphasize that seamless shapeshifting of being in like human form, casting a earth-based spell, and then going to werewolf. Now the skill tree and talent tree, there's 2 of them. This is actually kind of interesting. You progressively gain skill points as you level, but you can also find skill tomes, I guess is what they call them, instead of tombs. Each progressive tome that you find gives you another skill point. The talent tree is also pretty interesting. It's a little bit different than Diablo 2, where you can kind of put a single hard point into the tree to progressively unlock later skills and then, sink more points into the final, level 30 skills that are more powerful. The talent tree is kind of the opposite of that. You need to invest a certain amount of points into each level to unlock the next level. So you can't like save a bunch of points as you're working your way through the talent tree, which is pretty interesting. Now there is a private / open world concept that they're proposing. So everything will be like open world with the 5 different worlds you can travel around, interact with other players, but they want to keep the Diablo-esque kind of survival atmosphere, and the number of players will be limited based on what is happening in the environment. So say a dungeon, you might only be able to have up to 4 players, but then a world boss event, they want you to have more than 4 players to help you out with that like big undertaking. And another really key point that I really like that they did emphasize is that it is entirely plausible to play this game 100% solo by yourself. So there will be campaign events and dungeon events that are just strictly solo, that you just do yourself and you get the loot yourself. So it kind of really tailors to people that like to play single player. There is no offline experience with Diablo 4. That is 100% confirmed, but you can completely play privately to kind of tailor to those people that like that type of gameplay. And then world boss events, again, we did mention there are more players, but towns and locations they're safe areas where you don't have to worry about being attacked. And then there is designated PvP areas as well. Tying in a little bit to the towns and safe locations, there will be guilds, that is confirmed, and also trading within those guilds. So if you find items that you no longer need, you can donate them to other guild members. And there will also be trading as well, but they did specifically mention this, and I do think it's pretty interesting. There will be some items that are loot only. So what do I mean by that? You actually have to complete a specific quest to drop that item, then it is only available to you for doing the work to complete that quest. So you can't just give a new player a really GG item. You need to go and get it yourself. And there's also single trade items only. So an item, once you trade it once, it cannot be used on any other character. So this is kind of cool. I think it kind of avoids issues that you can have with like D2JSP, form gold, just for getting whatever you want in the game in terms of items. Diving into dungeons, this is very cool. Random worlds themselves, like outside, they are not random generated maps, but there is going to be hundreds of dungeons, and every single dungeon has a unique random generated map, and there's also seamless exploration tied into that as well, so no loading screens at all. And then within these dungeons, there is random events as well as specific dungeon objectives or different loot. They didn't really specify what the loot was, but again, random events and then specific objectives that you need to complete when you enter these dungeons. And there is also very specific endgame dungeons that they referred to. Now, these dungeons can only be unlocked by first dropping a dungeon key. And then it's kind of interesting that these dungeon keys are also tied with specific affixes. So a random example is an affix might dictate that monsters spawn and they only deal lightning damage, and then you can thus kind of dictate how you tailor your character build or what skills you're going to use for the specific dungeon key for that endgame dungeon area. In terms of monsters, it's kind of very similar to Diablo 2. There's regular monsters and elites that have affixes similar to like Diablo 2, so like extra fast, extra strong, magic resistance, etc. Elites in Diablo 4, will have a very same system. And then there's bosses and then world boss events. Shava is the one that they showed off in the demo. It looks pretty epic. That is again going to be one of those world events where more than 4 players can take on this world boss at the same time. And they did introduce something that was called a stagger bar. So I guess progressively as you and your campaign party does more damage to that endgame world boss, this stagger bar builds up and then it ends up kind of putting him into a stun mode where you can do extra damage to him or knock bone spears off him or whatever, as you can see in the video. Now, tying into the last thing, the itemization system. Now, I think a lot of people are somewhat turned off. They think it's kind of really borrowed from Diablo 3. I'm not a big Diablo 3 guy, so I can't really speak too much to that, but there is the planned progression of normal, magic, and rare items, and they will have progressive affixes on those items. So like normal, nothing, magic will have more affixes, rare, more than that, and then there's legendary, ancient legendary, sets and ancient sets, and then mythics being the final most powerful item in the game. They didn't really spend too much time diving into what the affixes were. They just specifically said, I need to find my notes here, there would be a set affix, but then there would be ranged values within it that will vary. So I guess like maximum damage 5 to 10, 10's a better roll than 5, you get the idea. Now runes, there is going to be rune words, but it's a little bit different than your standard Diablo 2. There's 2 runes, a condition rune and an effect rune, and you need to combine these 2 runes together to make a rune word. So from my understanding, there's not like 6 rune words like Breath of the Dying. It's just you combine a specific condition and effect rune together to make a rune word. Now, all of these runes in Diablo 4, they have borrowed the same rune names from Diablo 2. So Ist, Mal, Eld, El, like you name it, they translate right over. Tying into a couple of the important Q&As that they covered just at the end that I want to talk about, because I got asked these at least 100 different times during my each individual Diablo live BlizzCon stream. Okay, monetization. There is going to be no pay to win in Diablo 4. There will be a base game and expansions to buy, so I'm assuming that those expansions are maybe either characters or just different specific exclusive areas. But there will be no pay to win, but there is going to be cosmetics that you can purchase, which I'm all on board for that. A monetization system, that is not pay to win, and then you can buy cool stuff to make your character look neat. I'm okay with that. No offline mode at all. There is, however, single player campaign mode. It's entirely viable. There is 100% in-game trading, one trade items only, specific items that you can only earn in dungeons. And there's skills and items that are suited towards PvP or PvM, because what did come up a lot during my streams, people asking about PvP. They didn't dive into too much detail, but they did say that specific skills and gear sets would be tailored to PvP as opposed to PvM and vice versa. Legendaries will be more rare to drop than Diablo 3, so I guess they don't fall out of the sky. You can't gear up your character immediately. but I do not think that it's going to be as grind-based as Diablo 2, so we're probably looking at a healthy medium between the two. That's really just my speculation, but they did mention numerous times that they really wanted to emphasize replayability and customization. So whether it is skill building, character gear setup, or, you know, tailoring your character to specific endgame dungeons, like I said, with the dungeon keys and affixes and how they determine the monsters that spawn within the dungeons. A lot of focus was put into this, and there's a few final points that I can 100% confirm for you guys. Hardcore mode will be in Diablo 4. That came right from the developer's mouth. Shava is the first world boss, but there will be multiple other world boss events, so that's really exciting. I just think it's cool, multiple players teaming up together for one big epic boss battle. And finally, Duriel from Diablo 2 makes a comeback in Diablo 4. He's redesigned a little bit, looks even scarier, but it is pretty exciting. But guys, that pretty much wraps up all of the key takeaway points that I wanted to discuss about the games and feature discussion panel from Diablo 4 at BlizzCon. So guys, I really do hope you enjoyed this video. Feel free to let me know in the comment section below what you guys like or what you guys do not like, because I really do think that the game developers are actually listening to what the fans want this time around. It'd be really cool to kind of hear what your guys' thoughts and opinion is in the comment section below. We can get a nice discussion going. Other than that, guys, really do hope you enjoyed this video. If you could throw a like on it, share it, and even consider subscribing if you're new to my Diablo channel. I post new weekly content and stream on a consistent basis, so there's always new stuff to look forward to, and your support with a sub would mean a lot. Other than that, guys, hope you have a fan-frickin-tastic day, and I'll see you on my next Diablo 2 video or live stream. Peace out.